Hello and welcome to the Gameweek 17 review and Gameweek 18 full preview for the blank Gameweek 18. Before we get started, I have to say, thoughts and prayers go out to Luton player Tom Lockyer. Ultimately, no one would want to see that, and it's awful what Tom Lockyer and his friends and family are going through. So, thoughts are with him. He's in hospital, in a stable condition, and everything goes above football when it comes to that. It's all about the safety of Tom Lockyer. I hope he gets better soon, and I hope that for future times this happens. It happened in the playoff final at Wembley against Coventry in May, and I just hope that for future occasions that he can have something fitted and it will make it safe for future occasions, because I really, really feel for him. I feel for Rob Edwards, who was very emotional at the Vitality Stadium, and rightly so. But what Bournemouth did as a club, in terms of their medical response, and Philip Billing as well, very, very well done to him. He was very, very quick about it. Just well done to all involved. Bournemouth, Luton, well done to all involved, and the safety of the player is absolutely paramount. Nothing else matters. And yeah, the fact that the game is getting replayed, to be honest, I'm surprised I'm surprised that basically they wanted it to be replayed. I suppose they had to have it replayed, but I thought they would start it from the 65th minute or the 60th minute onwards. But, fair enough. Premier League, that's probably the right decision to replay the game. And so, obviously, FPL points are irrelevant. Such a tiny, minute detail in comparison to that. There's been a lot of kind of beef on Twitter about how much people tweet about asking for points in that game, Solanke points, etc. That is not important. And ultimately, the bigger picture is a player has nearly had a life-threatening moment on the pitch. And, you don't want to see that. But at the end of the day, fantasy is our own fantasy. We're living in our own bubbles. We're living on a fantasy game where we've got 15 players in a squad that doesn't actually exist. It's not a real life squad. It's just in our heads, based on players in real life, and it has absolutely nothing in significance. So it puts it really into perspective. Obviously, a game of FPL that we all know and love, but some things are more important in life, and whether or not a game, gets rescheduled and abandoned, and whether the points get rewiped. And as you can see on here, Game Week 17 will remain open after the conclusion of Sunday's matches. More information to follow in due course. Whether or not Solanke gets 0 points or 9 points or 6 points, I couldn't care less. Ultimately, it's about, let's make sure the player's safe, and if he plays another game, Solanke against Luton in a future week, honestly, couldn't care less. So it's one of those things. It just happens sometimes in football, and it's in life. This thing sort of happens. It's just part of the, unpredictability of life. But yeah, it's which I thought I'd just say that ultimately people who are atting the Premier League for not saying what the rules are, who cares, right? Bigger picture here. It's just fantasy football. It's not life or death in that situation. So little rant out the way. Of course, some people on Twitter have done really well, and some really amazing people, like, for instance, the legend that is James, Planet FPL. He's the absolute GOAT, and he didn't mean any offence in his tweet, I'm sure. And, he just said, this is it, this is what I think. And some people took it the wrong way, and I don't understand why, because the fact that he's had to tweet and apologise is ridiculous, really. He's got nothing to apologise for, but that's the kind of guy he is. He's a great guy. And so he's very, very honest. But I have to say, yeah, fair play. What I would say is, yeah, just think about what you tweet before you tweet it, is what I'm going to say. But let's get into a very quick review of Game Week 17. Just bear with a second whilst I get set up. So it's going to be a very, very quick review of 17 and a very quick look ahead to 18. Obviously, my FPL preview will, as usual, come out before deadline. It's 6:30 p.m. on Thursday the 21st. So get ready for my FPL preview for Game Week 18, which will come later. But for now, we're just doing a quick Game Week 17 review. Obviously, the points are still open. It remains open, so whatever happens to Solanke's points, so be it. I'm really not bothered. It's on a red arrow anyway, so even if Solanke's points stay, then it won't actually help me. But the point is, Game Week 17, what did I do? Well, I had a few options, wondering what to do. 57 points was the final. I mean, it's going to be 58, basically, because I ended up having no Isak. Bit of a surprising one. We thought Gordon was going to miss out, and so I thought, well, I've not got a bench, so I'll just start Gordon anyway. And Gordon starts, I'm like, yes, get in, thank God. And then it's Isak who misses out for no reason whatsoever that we knew before deadline. We assumed he'd start because he got rested midweek in the game against Milan. And although they'd lost that, obviously, you thought that Isak would start alongside maybe Wilson if Gordon was out. But no, Isak not even in the squad. And apparently he's been carrying injury for 3 weeks or 4 weeks and we just didn't know about it. So that's just, what can I do about that? So frustrating. I really was hoping Isak would come good since I brought him in for Watkins in Game Week 14, but that transfer's really not paid off in the last 3 weeks because, blanks for Isak every single week and then, of course, not playing this week. And then Watkins scoring against Bournemouth, scoring in the game against Brentford, also in Game Week 17. So painful stuff. And I now need Watkins back, essential for Game Week 18 ahead of Sheffield United at home. But on paper, the fixtures were better for a Newcastle, so it's really unlucky. Areola also unlucky because out of nowhere, he doesn't actually start the game. Everyone was thinking, oh, well, I've got my injury to Sanchez, but at least Areola's back fit. He's not flagged anymore on FPL, so he'll start, no problem. Back in the Europa League, on the bench in the game midweek, he'll start the game. Easy money. No, apparently he needs more time for his wrist injury to heal. Brilliant stuff. Thanks for that, David Moyes. It would have been great if you'd have said that in the press conference. The same goes for Eddie Howe on Isak, but, so frustrating, honestly. Last game week 16, I transfer in Sanchez, he gets injured. So I think, okay, fine, let's just start Areola because he's back fit now. And then I don't have another keeper yet again because Sanchez is on my bench. And West Ham and Chelsea both keep clean sheets. And I both have West Ham and Chelsea keepers and get 0 points. I mean, it's just so unlucky. So we need a keeper for 18. That is the priority move. It's just who we get is going to be the question, which we'll talk about more in our preview. But yeah, 0 points for Areola, very frustrating. I mean, at least no other keepers are massively ripping it up. Dubravka's okay. Leno's got a few points here and there. Martinez has been a bit up and down, and also people like Vicario has been quite solid, but Spurs just don't often keep clean sheets, so it's hard to get anyone for points in goal this season. But yeah, frustrating that Fabianski ends up getting a clean sheet against Wolves. The goal gets wiped out as well from Wolves, the VAR. I mean, it's just so unlucky as a non Fabianski owner. But I'm not going to own a double West Ham keepers because they just don't get clean sheets. Or at least they didn't before that Wolves game, so frustrating stuff. The back three, Saliba, Gabriel and Porro. Finally, some defenders getting some clean sheets. Love to see it. Porro was one of my transfers in the -4, so Porro came in for Mark Gay. 8 points, lovely jubbly, 2 bonus right at the end. He was so attacking all game, and honestly, was baffled how he wasn't on for any bonus going into the final minutes. He looked so great, and he had that chance cleared off the line. He had a shot, or at least blocked or something, but he could have easily got an attacker return, and that's his biggest haul of the season, so great timing. Gay, meanwhile, obviously conceded 2 against Man City, so perfect stuff, great transfer. And it was 2 good transfers for me this week. Porro in for Gay and Solanke in for Haaland. Now, of course, we know what happened with the Bournemouth game. That's not important, but on paper, technically, I did get a goal from Solanke, and it would have been a 9-pointer. He was on for 3 bonus, but as I said, it's not important. It is what it is. But yeah, as a Haaland replacement, Solanke's certainly a good shout because he's in form. He's got Nottingham Forest in Game Week 18, and yeah, just looking really, really good at the moment. So yeah, really, really like that. The defence as well. Saliba finally comes through with some points for me after I transferred him in 14. But the bonus point was really nice against ultimately a Brighton side that always end up scoring. So to get a clean sheet was absolutely lovely, and to get the double clean sheet with Gabriel there too. Beautiful. So that kind of saved my week, really, the defence. Midfield, Midfield wise, this is looking a bit interesting. Son obviously blanked against Forest. Glad I didn't captain him because I didn't ever like the early fixture. Son didn't look great against Forest, I'll be honest. So yeah, it is one of those things with Son. You've got to kind of stomach the blanks and then get the returns in the big hauls that he likes to do. Salah captain, oh my days, how did he not do anything? I mean, we're banking on that for a banker. You know, it was going to be a big Liverpool win, but it was one of the worst football matches I've watched in ages. Absolutely dreadful. Salah didn't look amazing, and Liverpool just looked terrible. Like, so many wasteful attacks and just poor passing in general. So, not good at all, but this is Salah. He's so consistent, so we'll let him off. Palmer, my guy, hero of the week, Cole Palmer. 14-pointer, goal and assist against Sheffield United, and it's great to see he's scoring goals outside of penalties. What a baller. What an amazing gift he's been this season. So cheap. And those fixtures coming up are looking tasty. So, very happy with Cole Palmer. Hwang, blanks again. Yeah, maybe the time for Hwang is starting to dry up now. He's been so good for me. Now, the recent games, it's just not been quite the same. And ultimately, a frustrating one. Because if the Wolves goal had stood, he would have got the assist of the assist, and we don't like those. Obviously, the pass in from Hwang to Semedo and then to the goal scorer, Sarabia, but how he got ruled out for that goal, I mean, it's very harsh. It's toenail stuff, really. But, yeah, Hwang, he didn't look too lively. I thought Cunha looked a bit more lively, to be honest, so a bit frustrating, Hwang, but, you know, it is what it is. When I didn't have Areola playing, I thought, Hwang, just go crazy. But no, in the end, not great. Although fixtures for Wolves, a bit, you know, mixed, to be honest. Chelsea in game week 18 is not bad. We know how bad Chelsea have been defensively this season. And then after that, it's like decent. I think they've got like middling fixtures, so it's kind of one of those things. Obviously, he'll go by game week 21 when he's got Asia Cup, but might have to sell before that because the form has just started to drop off a little bit. Gordon got me an assist, lovely stuff. Great to see him starting. I was pretty confident they would start him because they've got no one else, right? They're dropping like flies at Newcastle at the moment. And Cher as well, now also injured. So, yeah, not great. But Gordon's just got so many returns for me this kind of point in the season. He's just been absolute dynamite. And he's still very cheap. So, love it to see that. And he's got Luton up next. So, some great fixtures on the horizon for Anthony Gordon. And then, front two. I should have said the front two. And what I mean is the front zero. Because Isak didn't play out of nowhere. Injured, had a slight groin injury. Solanke obviously scored, but I would imagine his points will get wiped to 0, and then I'll probably get, I won't get an auto sub basically because I haven't got a bench, but we'll get to that. Solanke though, the good transfer in. As I said, Haaland was out. I wanted to sell him. It was between Solanke and Watkins. I went for Solanke. It would have been a 9-pointer if he gets the bonus. Watkins got 9 as well. But obviously, with what happened in the Luton game, you know, that's one of those things. I'm not going to complain. It's far more important, the bigger picture. But obviously, yeah, going forward, Solanke's a great player to go for on pens, great fixtures, and yeah, I just really like him as a pick. And the fact that Haaland got injured has actually helped me because it means if Isak's back for game week 18, then I can own Solanke, Watkins and Isak together, which is quite nice, which I wouldn't have been able to do if Haaland had been fit. So obviously he had the blank, but then I would have probably just benched him for 19 to come back. So it's worked out well actually, the Haaland injury for my planning. And yeah, Isak just so unlucky. Like, who'd have known that? Then the bench is very, very harsh this week because it had to be the 1 week where I had 2 bench defenders not playing due to suspension. Trippier and Taylor, if they could have just been on my bench, then I'd been alright. But no, they didn't have games, so Mubama was my one. And to be honest, most weeks Mubama's third sub, and I've got a pretty decent bench, one of Taylor or Solanke or Porro, pretty strong team. Hwang sometimes if he's got a bad fixture. But this 1 week happened to be, Trippier and Taylor being out from suspension. So I was like, Isak will start, that'll be fine. Gordon, maybe he won't play, but I'm hoping he will. So the only kind of worry I had was Gordon having to, come out and Mubama coming in. And I was hoping Mubama would get some minutes. He did. It was very few, but it was some minutes at least. But I did not expect him to be the one coming in for Isak. So, what could I have done about that? Not a lot. It's very unlucky and just so frustrating about Areola because, one of those things. If I'd have known he was going to be out, then I'd have transferred out someone for Sanchez or for Areola. But now that Sanchez is out for longer term, I might have to get rid of Sanchez rather than Areola. Obviously, Chelsea's fixtures are still great, but I still just don't think Chelsea will get many clean sheets, apart from Sheffield United. Obviously, that was, the banker. So it's annoying that, Petrovic ends up doing that when Sanchez might have done if he was fit. But, Mubama, he comes on, and he'll get me the auto sub for Isak, whether or not he'll do it for Solanke as well, but I've got no one else. Taylor and Trippier didn't play, so basically I'm ending the week on, if Solanke is 0 and auto subbed out, it will be on 9 players, which is very unfortunate. Obviously, what can I do about that? No Areola, no Solanke. It's just unfortunate. But, Mubama does come in for the 1-pointer. At least he outscored Isak, and at least he got some minutes. But it's just very, very unlucky. And, I don't think taking the -8 at the time to replace Mubama when I would have had to spread up funds, and that takes away me chances of getting Haaland in 19 or 20 if I've not got as much bank money. And the same thing goes, I didn't think a -8 was worth it for a keeper, right? So I thought Areola was fit, so it's one of those things. It's just unlucky with the way that things have gone this week. So, but all in all, not a terrible red arrow. Even if the Solanke points get wiped, it won't be a massive drop, because it's 58 points when Mubama's 1 comes in, so -4, 54, not too shabby at all. And if you just look at our Gameweek history, I mean, recently we've had a nice kind of upturn in form. We wildcarded game week 9, and kind of that was a massive jump from 2.29 million to 1.075, and then kind of that big game week for me was game week 13, a really, really nice jump up to 796k, and since then we've been doing quite well, kind of tiptoeing around kind of 400k, 500k, which is a good place to be after a tough season. I think it's not been easy for a lot of FPL managers. So yeah, probably dropping down. It's on a green arrow at the moment, but that won't be the case when they update the auto subs and rank. It's going to be around about 510k or something like that, I think. So it's not the worst place to be in, basically. So yeah, look, 58 points, not bad. And yeah, my transfers went really well. Ended up getting 13 points, -4, that's 9. Good kind of overall transfers, but obviously unlucky with what the Bournemouth-Luton game happened. So then, yeah, we'll quickly look ahead to Game Week 18. As I say, I'm not going to really do much of a preview in this one. That will be on my channel on deadline, around about an hour before deadline, so about 5:30 on Thursday. You can watch my Game Week 18 preview. But of course, don't forget, this is the blank Game Week 18, so interesting one. Palace-Brighton, this will be an interesting game. I think the M23 derby, or they call it, or is it the A23? I never quite know. Or the M4, I don't. I've lost count really at this point what the names of the derbies are, but apparently there's some sort of rivalry between these two. I don't own anyone from these teams actually, but and I don't think I will probably, because I doubt I'll bring in like Matoma. He just keeps getting yellow cards and stuff. But it is what it is. Palace obviously last week, it was a good decision to sell Gay. Obviously, he'll probably get a clean sheet now this week, but I don't think I'll own any Palace attackers. Obviously, they got a good point at Man City, but Elise, he's on pens, fair enough, but I don't think Palace fixtures are great enough for me to go there. And Brighton, yeah, they're just too much of a headache. Who's going to play? Pedro didn't start against Arsenal, and they didn't look amazing, to be honest. Pascal Gross has been quite decent recently, but he missed a big chance at the Emirates, so I'm not going to probably go on that. Now, Villa Sheffield United could be interesting. If I'm fancying a bit of Emi Martinez as my keeper replacement, that might be okay. Also, Watkins is definitely coming in for me, there's no doubt. He has to come in for 18. Probably for Isak, just because I can then leave money in the bank for Haaland in the coming weeks. But if I do Mubama to Watkins, then it will take away a lot of that money for me to get Haaland back in a few moves. So, I think it's tempting. It depends on Isak whether or not he's out for Luton, because I would like him if he's going to start, but we just don't know if he's going to start. Obviously, Wilson started against whoever they played, Fulham. That was it. So look, at the end of the day, I don't know. We'll have to see. I think the Villa game though, I'm not going to bring in Matty Cash. I know he started the game against Brentford, but going forward, he's not nailed because he got subbed off as well. He got subbed off on 65. I think Diaby the same, even though they started. It's just Watkins is the one. It's as simple as that. Maybe Martinez, maybe a defender like a Konza or a Pau Torres, but I don't think I need to get any defenders at the moment. It's a keeper and a striker probably for Mubama, because Mubama's just, he's been my bench fodder most weeks, but I haven't had to rely on my third bench most weeks. But now it's getting to a point where I might need to. So he's probably more of a priority. Man United, West Ham, I'll probably own no one from this game, but I look at it and think, should I just bring Bowen in early? Because Kudus is obviously going to go off to Africa Cup of Nations. Bowen is tempting. Obviously, by 21, I'll definitely want him for Sheffield United. But, yeah, maybe I could delay it. It's just, again, Bowen, that's frustrating. That week of 14 where I brought out Watkins, Bowen and Cash for Isak, Burmo and Saliba, right? And at that time, Saliba's been frustrating, obviously good last week. Then Cash, obviously, I sold him and he started last week. And then Isak's blanked every time. Watkins scored against Bournemouth and against Brentford. And Bowen, he scored against Tottenham in 16 and then, or 15, I should say. And then again, he scored in 17 against Wolves. So I'm tempted to get Bowen back, but it's one of those things. Maybe I should just commit to it. The fixtures aren't amazing for West Ham, but they're not terrible from an attacker's point of view. You know how bad United have been for defensively this season, and how they got a clean sheet against Liverpool, I'm not quite sure, but fair play, it was just an awful game. Fulham Burnley, probably won't own anyone outside of Taylor for this game. I obviously got Taylor from my bench, but I don't think I'll be getting on any Fulham attackers. Probably not, because without Jimenez they might be a bit less goals scoring. Willian's been okay, maybe Wilson. Maybe you look at Muniz. Rodrigo Muniz might start some games with Jimenez out, and maybe the same for Vinicius, but I'm just not sure I want to go there. And, I back Burnley more, to be honest, in that game. I know that without Jimenez, Burnley have been pretty poor, but I think Burnley could probably score in that game. Hopefully a Charlie Taylor clean sheet or an attacking return. I could look at a Burnley attacker, I suppose, but I still think, Amdouni, Rodriguez is probably not worth it. Luton Newcastle, probably will own at least 2 for Newcastle, maybe 3 if I keep Isak. But I think Trippier against Luton back from his suspension could be good. Gordon especially, maybe a captaincy shout, Anthony Gordon. But, it's one of those things, everyone underestimates Luton at Kenilworth and they end up playing well. So maybe it's a bit too risky to go on Anthony, but I'm tempted. Forest Bournemouth, yeah, probably not going to own anyone from this outside of Solanke, because Solanke's obviously one that you can just leave in for a few weeks, but I don't think I'm going to get on the Bournemouth defence, because they, of course, technically conceded against Luton, and only 3 minutes in. I just don't think they're that stable of a defence. Spurs-Everton, look, this game is a tempting one for the Son captaincy. We know how good Son is, especially in games against, weaker opposition, so to speak, but Everton recently have been in good form, so I don't know, this might not be as easy as it looks for Spurs on paper, but I think they will respond from the recent kind of disappointments in terms of scoring goals. Obviously, the game against Forest was better, but Son didn't look great, did he? So I think Richarlison could be tempting against his old side if I brought him in, but again, I don't really need a midfielder transfer, I don't think, unless I want to sell Hwang to get Richarlison, but I'm not that fussed about it. I think Son is a decent captaincy shout. I think he's got a good record against Everton as well. Liverpool-Arsenal, look, Salah captain, not the end of the world in this game. We know that Salah's got a lovely record against the Gunners, and it's another home game for Salah. I know he blanks for the first time at home in game week 17, but every broken clock strikes twice, all that gist. So it happens. I think Liverpool defensively, clean sheet against Man United, fair play. I don't know. I don't own Tsimikas, so it's one of the things I probably won't go for him. But you could look at like Luis Diaz maybe, who looks decent. He's doing no better than Darwin Núñez. So Darwin is just so poor, and I honestly can't believe people still rate him. He's just so wasteful and gets booked as well and offside all the time. Arsenal players, maybe you could start your Arsenal defenders, but I think Liverpool probably score in this one. So I've got Gabriel and Saliba currently on the bench. We'll have to see what decisions I make, whether that changes by my game week 18 preview. But yeah, at the moment I've benched Gabriel and Saliba and Mubama. So again, not much of a bench, but that's why I'm thinking of maybe replacing Mubama. But Arsenal, yeah, definitely start your attackers, because Liverpool defensively, I know they've been one of the better teams this season, but I still feel Arsenal are good enough. Top of the league, they can score at Liverpool 100%. And then the Sunday game is, of course, the Christmas Eve game, Wolves-Chelsea, Hwang, Gordon, obviously I say Gordon, I mean Palmer. 2 good options, Hwang and Palmer, in this game, and I think I'm more confident with Palmer at the moment, but still, you never know. Wolves at home have been pretty good, especially against the bigger teams. So that rounds up my little preview of Game Week 18. I'll see you in the next one, people. Have a good one, and bye bye.